Go.
All right, try again. Okay, ask for thumbs up.
Okay, can you all hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear. Oh, thank you so much, Angela. Okay, all right. Okay, well, welcome, dear friends. I want to give you a few announcements. Number one, novena is Thursday evenings, and we're going to start at 5:45, between 5:45 and 6, because we've got a class that ends right there. So please join us for the novenas if you'd like, and send your prayer requests to prayers@heartwoodrefuge.org.
Singular.
Prayer.
No S. Prayer.
Oh, excuse me. It's prayer, not plural. Prayer, not prayers, at heartwoodrefuge.org. Okay. Okay, please follow us and like us on Facebook and share on Facebook. That will help us tremendously in spreading the Dharma talks. And okay, as for donations to Heartwood, you can come to our donate page, and there are many different ways that you can direct your donations. And that's on the Heartwood website and under donate. So please feel free to go in there. One of the most fun ways that you can donate is on our Amazon wish list. And we want to put a special thank you. We've had anonymous givers, and Leo has been consistently giving through our Amazon wish list. So please feel free to join in that way too. Thank you so much, all of you who have contributed money or the wish list. Also, another thing you can do to help fund Heartwood is you can, when you're buying anything on Amazon for yourself or anyone, if you can use the Amazon Smile feature. And the way you would do that is you would pick Heartwood Refuge as your preferred charity. 5% of everything you purchase will go to Heartwood from that way. So that's another excellent way that you can give to Heartwood.
We also don't condone capitalism or consumerism, but we know that Amazon gets used. So if you're going to use it, might as well.
Might as well, yep, might as well help out Heartwood. So thank you so much for that one, friends. And then lastly on my list here of announcements is our final Friday fun night. And that used to happen in person here on campus, but since COVID shut us down, our Sangha has become national. And so any of you who could join us for our final Friday fun night, we're going to be doing the first one of the year, January 29. That's next Friday night. We'll be watching on Zoom. You'll need to join us through Zoom. This won't be going on Facebook or YouTube. It'll only be through Zoom. And we're going to be watching a movie together. And when the movie's over, we're going to be discussing how did we see Dharma in that movie. Gives us a chance to get to know each other and build our beloved community across the nation. So please join us to have some fun together next Friday night. The way you do that is you go to the Heartwood website and under retreats and just scroll down there and you'll see Final Friday Fun Night. Please register there and you will get the Zoom link and the passcode in your email. So thank you very much, friends.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Can everybody hear me okay? If so, if you give me a thumbs up and I know that we're good. Okay, so everybody has been waiting to exhale. That's good, that's fine. Everybody's waiting to exhale, right? And we think as of, I don't know, whenever it was, yesterday or the day before yesterday, that the great exhale has begun. But I submit to you that we need to get ready to inhale because we have to roll up our sleeves. There is work to be done. some of the damage that we do is trying to do outer work when we haven't done inner work. And so the outer work that you see everywhere is a reflection of the inner work that people have done. And when we come together with our with an insufficient inner working, we wreak havoc on the world. And so to be a part of the healing of the world takes a clear knowing and understanding of where we are in life, in understanding the issues of life and the precursors to the issues of life. And the Buddha speaks of the magnificence of laying an axe to the root of a tree. We had a diseased tree out in the front of the Hermitage. I shouldn't say had, I could say have, because we called ourselves cutting it down. But not knowing how to properly cut the tree down, the tree has regrown and it's as big as it was before we cut it down. So somebody told us later, a tree service, that how there's a certain way that you have to cut it. You don't just take an axe and start hacking. There's a way to cut the tree down, and then there's an application that one needs to coat the stump with so that it doesn't regrow. And because we didn't know that, now we have, and they were happy to do it for us. And like my little granddaughter said, by myself, Grandma, like that's okay. We will do it better and more correctly the next time. And so insanity is doing the same thing over and over and looking for a different result. And today's contemplation is going to be a little bit different because we can get into a great habit of liking touchy-feely words, things that make us feel calm and secure and safe and loving from the outside. But if that's not what's arising from us from the inside, I'm sorry, I'm waiting on a call, but you have to fix it so you can see it. A call from the doctor. Our cat was diagnosed with cancer yesterday, so we're trying to see what we can do. So when he calls, I have to stop and talk to him. Okay. And so we are encouraged to take a different approach. A great patriarch said, to know who the Dharma is to know oneself, and the Buddha talks about this investigation in our Tuesday class and in our last Sunday's Dharma talk, in our last Thursday's class. We were talking about this same topic, and we're trying to kind of approach it from a lot of different perspectives so we get a 3D a 3D look at this. Sometimes when we look at something and it's too flat, like we just can't see it, we can't understand it. But we look at it from different angles and we get the feel of the whole elephant. And so instead of looking right now at the Dharma, I'd like for us to look at ourselves, because the Dharma is constantly saying, in the sutta, when he was speaking to the, what's the group? It's the famous one that everybody, Kalama, right? In the Kalama Sutta, he kept saying don't accept it because I said it. Don't accept it because it's written. Don't accept it because you've studied and contemplated it. Don't accept, and he listed almost every single way that we come to acceptance of something, And so they were like, well, duh, how will we really know this? He said, when you have put something into practice, when you have tried it for yourself and you know for yourself that this led to the weakening of unwholesome states in you, and when you know for yourself that this has strengthened wholesome states in you, he said, then you accept that teaching is true. So unless we are really looking at ourselves, we will miss the mark with all of our good intentions, and we'll end up like in Christianity we used to call it playing church. No, you can play Dharma too. You can play Buddhist too. You know, you don't have to leave one thing and go to another thinking that's the real thing. We have to become the real thing. And so this is a year of becoming real. When we first started the Embracing Simplicity, we started with a group of people who were used to going to AA and 12 steps, and they would share with us what the 12 steps were, and and it was this whole notion of like, I can't help myself. I have to rely on a higher power or I'm lost. And it just went on. And we were teaching like kind of a new doctrine around here. And there are a lot of people in AA here because this must be the beer capital. I don't know, there's like 5 beer joints on every corner, and we're so proud of it and opening more every day. Our children are alcoholics. We just don't see anything wrong with alcohol. And so it's a self-perpetuating industry here. You can't say anything about drinking here if you want to stay in good graces with everybody. Even when we started and we did the precepts, we had to leave the 5th precept off because that stopped everybody right there. Nobody was giving up their alcohol. And so it took time for stability of mind to become valuable enough to them that they reduced their dependence on alcohol for a sense of happiness or contentment or ability to cope. And so they started coming to our Dharma talks, but they wanted our Dharma talks to be like AA meetings, in the beginning, But as they stayed with it, there was a shift in their lives because they began to practice. They began to put things into practice. Put things into practice. I'll say that. Instead of just saying practice, can we add into in front of it? Putting things into practice is how the realization comes. So our contemplation for today is going to be on ourselves. Yesterday was a difficult day, and it was a kind of sad day for me because if I as sad as I can get, I might have a little difficulty getting too sad these days. You like tuck and roll. That's how you live this life. But there was I won't say too much about him because he's very well known. Teacher and founder of a sect, and there was some unwholesomeness in how he handled a situation. And my heart went out to him because he has done such great work for 50 years, and how one thing can topple, how one thing can topple. And I said, therefore the grace of God goes out because, I'm pretty much unfiltered. And so what you see is what you get. And he was unfiltered in that moment. And after he said it, instead of waiting and regathering himself so that he could come back again, he also put it in writing, and the writing just the email circulated everywhere. And so we had to ask him to step away for a moment, and he was not able to hear us. And we came with the deepest respect for the work he has done and possibly can do in the future. But this was a moment to reflect, and we have to have the willingness to do that sometimes, or to do it when it's required. And he says, well, I'm being judged. I said, no, you're not being judged. We're giving you, we're talking to you because we're not judging you. We are like just talking this out with you to give you a sounding board and an opportunity to find your own wisdom. What would you recommend to someone else if they were in your shoes? It's hard for us to see it when it's us, But he went on a tirade about how we were had already had a fixed opinion, and we were just said, no, we're just reading the email. It says what it says, And at the end of it, we just, after 45 minutes, we gave up because it just got more and more and more imbalanced. And so I was, it reminded me of the role of humility in our walk. The Apostle Paul said that he felt he had an affliction, that was given to him. He called it a messenger of Satan to buffet him, lest he become exalted above measure due to how much revelation he had. And I've always liked it. Maybe not in the Satan kind of way of looking at it, but just in a real way of looking at it, whatever it takes to keep one humble and circumspect. And as we come to know more and more, there is a human tendency born out of the remaining ignorance to become arrogant in our stance and become self-righteous in our walk, And so I say in this time of great, I think that we're entering a time of great movement, consciousness raising movement, that we have to remember to keep it balanced with humility, because the last thing that gets uprooted, not the first, but the last, the Buddha said, is the conceit, I. The conceit, CONCEIT, I am. So with that in mind, can we go into today's, okay, so I asked, I don't know if David's on, but I asked Panyadeepa, would he like to open up today, David? And he said, no. So it's not that I don't give him a chance to speak, it's that he didn't want to open up today. And I hope that's okay with you. Can you put that, okay. So can we read this together? And how many do we have on today? 16, okay. And we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And we have 12, 16, 20, 6, 20. Okay.
Not on the Zoom screen? Not on the Zoom? Paper.
Is it on this Zoom?
We're working through it right now.
Oh, okay. So it's gonna show up in the Zoom screen in a second. And we have 28 people today. And I think we can break out into some smaller groups so that everybody can have a chance to reflect. And then if we can get some group captains who want to come and share some of our insights. So we're going to read it together. And then we're just going to go into silence for about 3 minutes so that we can really look. We will break out, and then don't leave, because we will come back and let's get this all set up now. When you get into your groups, within the first 15 seconds, somebody needs to say, I will, no, I don't mind facilitating. And what facilitating means is taking, noting some of the important things that came up in your conversation so that you can share it with a larger group. And this way we'll have more things that we can share. Sometimes when you haven't thought of something yourself, but somebody says that thing, then you realize, yeah, that was on my mind or on my heart, or it was down a little deeper. Oh, I need to look at it that way too. Or yeah, I also agree. And sometimes we're so intent on getting our one point across that for someone to bring up the other side of that, we disagree just simply because it's in conflict with the point we're making at the moment. But we don't really disagree with it. We just want to hold fast to our point. So this kind of working in dialogue helps us to fatten the calf so that we can hold multiple views at one time and not necessarily be attached to any view. You know, we can't become non-attached to views until we're capable of holding multiple views. That's what helps us to become not attached to any one view. If we only have one, we're going to hold tenaciously to that. When there are multiple ways of looking and understanding and knowing a thing, then we realize how futile it is to hold to any one view. Okay, are we ready to do it?
Yeah, we're about to do the breakout rooms.
No, not breakout rooms. We're reading together first.
Oh, that's right.
As we enter the 21st century, we can reassess what we think, what we believe, what we hold to be true, and why we think it, why we believe it, why we hold it to be true. Can we look at our wording and phrasing in such a way as to make the moment approachable, understandable, and valuable? If everything is constantly changing, and that is the nature of relative reality, should we be interested in changing too? A famous preacher once said, life is sort of a sexually transmitted disease that is incurable and terminal. Nobody gets out alive. But the Buddha and awakened sages say it is treatable, and we enter a new way of living. And that is the escape right there. It starts with awareness and being mindful, but it doesn't end there. The Dharma points us to how to overcome the dis-ease, tension of aversion to change, allowing us to enter the sublime state of imperturbability. How do you hold life right this moment? And yeah, how you hold life right this minute add to or subtract from your quality of life? What is causing you dukkha? What are you thinking, saying, doing that is hindering equanimity within and acceptance and non-judgment of others without? the question that we want to address. And I made it in big type. So if we want to leave it on the screen for us up here, we might have to reduce it a little. Or,
You shouldn't have taken that word out.
Oh, then we can't see it right. Okay, why don't we just read it a second time and then just go into meditation and fix it in our hearts, right? And then we can just go in. As we enter the 21st century, can we reassess what we think, what we believe, what we hold to be true, and why we think it, why we believe it, why we hold it to be true? Can we look at our wording and phrasing in such a way as to make the moment approachable, understandable, and valuable? If everything is constantly changing, and that is the nature of relative reality, should we be interested in changing too? A famous preacher once said, life is sort of a sexually transmitted disease that is incurable and terminal. Nobody gets out alive. But the Buddha and awakened sages say it is treatable, and we enter a new way of living.
Stop.
That is the escape right there. Can we go up? It starts with awareness and being mindful, but it doesn't end there. The Dharma points us to how to overcome the disease, tension of aversion to change, allowing us to enter the sublime state of imperturbability. How do you hold life right this minute? How does how you hold life right this minute add to or subtract from the quality of life? That's the main question. Number two, what is causing you dukkha? Number three, what are you thinking, saying, doing that is hindering your equanimity within and your acceptance and non-judgment of others? You know, the scholars used to translate dukkha as suffering, and it stuck. But I was wondering this morning and contemplating, you know, a lot of them have gone back to just saying dukkha and not trying to define it, because the word suffering has a certain meaning to us. And so they've gone back to just calling dukkha, dukkha. It may take a re-examination of what dukkha is instead of translating it as suffering. And that's just something I'm thinking about myself. And I'm really excited about the possibility of me really coming to terms with what dukkha is, for me. So we'll break out into our groups now. Select a captain or somebody volunteer. We will, how many is in a group?
There'll be 15 of us on Zoom.
Okay. 4. No, 5 or 3. So they have a good enough period of time for discussion. And it'll be 15 minutes. So that gives you 3 minutes for your opening statement. Everybody speak, you know, in turn. And then that allows you to go back for 2 minutes in your closing statement, because as we share, something else will come up for you. And then we're gonna dump you back into the plenary mode. Okay, are we ready?
How many of us here?
2, 3, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. There's somebody else. Where's Sasha?
Just in the back.
She's back there too. 12. 12 of us, so we can break into 3 as well.
Right there, unless you
You want to stay? I'll just put my chair right over.
I think you're with those two, and sister is with,
No, I thought.
Well, there's two of us here. I thought you were
Well, I
three.
thought you were.
I'm just gonna join. We can like this term where it's easy for.
Oh, okay, someone's gonna join your group, okay. I was confused at what you were saying, sorry. So.
Can you all join?
We can
Yes.
now.
Okay, wonderful.
Get them situated.
Oh, well. We could keep talking since nobody else is here.
You know. Mhm. And
We're
so.
back, y'all. We're live.
Oh, sorry, cutting, linking the wrong thing. This was so great. We need way more time for this.
Thank you so much.
Okay, who wants to start? I don't know about you, but we had a really good time. We didn't even wanna, we were grasping and clinging. But it really started the juices flowing. So let's see what you came up with. Go ahead, group number one. That's who, yes, Joe.
Good afternoon. Our group was Jasmine and Kathy and myself. And Jasmine shared that for her, dukkha meant a feeling of not having enough, and that sometimes that was conscious and sometimes it was unconscious, and that she's at Heartwood now to deepen her practice and work on transformation. And try to get to that the inner awareness of kind of what causes her own suffering by going deeper and deeper within herself. She stated that it's easy to feel good when things are going well, and that we need time and we need circumstances to kind of see what's inside. She shared a quote from Krishnamurti where she said that life can be meditation, meditation can be life, and the goal is to cultivate presence in every moment. I shared a situation that kind of occurred over the last couple of days, and along the same theme of being able to or not being able to cultivate presence in every moment to maintain this sort of equanimity is really the trick. And I shared how my wife and my son and his girlfriend have been living with us for the last 6 to 8 months, And my wife and I feel like I feel like we've done a really good job of maintaining a good sense of boundaries, letting these kids sort of, choose directions and do things and try to be a help and a sanctuary and not necessarily the overdoting parent. And certainly with my son's girlfriend, we are not the parent, right? So, we feel like we've been able to cultivate a real sort of presence with that throughout the last 8 months. Over the last couple of days, however, and we're parents of a single child, right? So the overdoting parents, we definitely went through that as we raised him. And recently, he decided he was going to make a change, and he was looking into it. He was talking to us a lot about it, and it was a change that all of a sudden was coming on fast. It's a career change that he's making, and it was coming on fast because they needed him way faster than any of us imagined him going into it. My wife and I both found ourselves kind of getting over involved again and losing that point of presence, and and just getting carried away with, wait, are you thinking about this? Have you thought about this? What about this? Do you understand how they'll pay you? Do you understand how the benefits work? All these things. And in my mind at the time, as my mind is racing and I keep jumping up to kind of, suggest the next thing, I'm thinking, hope this is helpful. In other words, we're giving you 40 years of experience. I hope this is helpful. And then what I shared with Kathy and Jasmine is as I've sort of recovered, the situation has transpired. And, I've been noticing how we've gotten back into that mode these last couple of days, and how it's a stark contrast to how we've been. And so I've been kind of introspecting a little bit and realizing that, despite our best intentions, the way things can come across, and he actually, kind of said as much a couple of different times, was, guys, I don't need you to micromanage this. I got this. In other words, I thought about this, I looked into it, and I got this. And I realized that despite my best intentions to help, to make sure that he thought of this and that, I was doubting his ability to really manage this fully on his own. And questioning that. And my intention, my outer intention, the intention I wanted him to see, was that I was being helpful with my 40 years of experience. But what he saw was my true intention, was that I didn't quite trust that he could sort of make this decision fully on his own. So that's a big focus of mine for this year with regard to transformation, is really getting in touch with what is my intention here. When I want to say something, when I want to do something, or even if I'm just judging something, what is my intention with how I'm approaching it? Truly my true intention. And then Kathy shared that, she's a recent transplant to Hendersonville. Life is going really well for them. When she experiences suffering, she feels like it's usually self-induced. She tries to really focus on equanimity. And whenever she's stressed, try to, remember to become mindful. But she pointed out that the words we choose matter, and how we say things really does matter. And that, I think, dovetails with what I was saying. So we had a great conversation.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think I'm from group 2. This is Imani. Greetings. And it was me, Regina, and Noel. And Regina talked about feeling it was difficult to add to her life if she was in a conundrum and wanted to would pay more attention if she was at a crossroads in terms of trying to let go of old views and not acting on them, and waiting for her heart to get wider. Some of the things that caused suffering were wanting things to be in a certain way, and feeling like she couldn't let go. And if there were moments that she felt she was judging, but also has enjoyed times of feeling open-hearted. and I don't know what that word was that I wrote. And then Noelle talked about sometimes holding life with a sense of rigidity, especially as it pertains to the daily schedule, and desiring to hold it more like a loose garment. And because the holding causes a lot, causes a feeling of dis-ease, but also not wanting to hold it too loosely to not lead to any sense of apathy, and just trying to also seek that equanimity. And she also mentioned waking up feeling less elated today than yesterday, and realizing that stress and suffering still exist. And also talked about those moments of wanting things to be a certain way, and for external things to bring serenity. And specifically, some of the thinking was like a feeling of we won, and talking to friends about like, yeah, we won, and going on social media around that. And so just some of those things contributing to a lack of acceptance in other areas. And then I talked about the ways of thinking that there's much more to contribute than is already happening, and also any comparing and using a measurement from the outside world and wanting to measure up to that somehow. That was the gist of it.
Thank you. Next group.
Hi. So I was in the group with Angela and Elsie, and so we talked primarily focused on things that cause dukkha for us. And so Angela shared some of the causes of dukkha for her, or capacity for remembering and focusing. She has a level of defense that doesn't allow her to be as open. She compares herself to previous versions of herself and also to other people. And she wants to share in a way that doesn't make others feel they have to fix her. And mental processes feel disconnected. And then Elsie shared facing decisions regarding where, like geographically, she wants to be, indecisiveness. She wants to receive the vaccine, but doesn't have easy access to get that. She feels like she's been in a holding pattern for a year, and she has a desire to feel wanted or needed. And then for myself, I have an attachment to impermanence. Actually, I like change, and I find that I use the Dharma to justify feelings of restlessness by thinking, oh well, everything's impermanent, so I should go do something else. A lack of feeling of home, and a resistance to developing a small worldview.
Thank you. I think there's one more group. Somebody just went in the house. Oh, okay. Never mind then. We have one more group.
The leader of our group, I don't know if she's still here. And I don't know if she understood she was supposed to be taking notes. So
Leadership at its best.
sorry. It was a wonderful discussion.
Yes, why don't you share, Joshua?
Oh, well, it was very interesting to talk to the other members of the group about their activism and about how they were able to take things that they cared about very much and do something about it in the world. They both had great histories of activism in their lives. And I find myself in the past few years being much more an observer of what happens in the world. So I'm sort of trying to figure out how to both be active and to work towards causes, but still to remain neutral and non-judgmental. That's the big question on my mind, though. So that's the thing that I focused on the most. Maybe if Fatima, if you have anything else to say, please feel free.
I think it was a very beautiful sharing, and we didn't quite took notes or thought about what we had to present. So I also didn't take notes, but it was very good. We talked about different things and about hope. And I mentioned that whenever I come to be in this Sangha, I hear things that help me a lot to pay attention on what is good in life, like it stays for a long time. And we talked about yesterday what was very powerful in the images and words and how love won. It's not people who lost or who won, but it's love, and how Buddha always said about love, and Martin Luther King. And it was a lot of different things that we talked about. Opinions is like someone like has neutral opinion, and some of us said that we can have opinion, but we don't have to impose and think that it was the most significant. We can have dialogue using our opinions to have discernment, but not to impose, and we don't have to have debates because people think differently. We talked about white privilege and light skin privilege, and also I talked that so many things that happened here is not so new for me, because coming from Brazil, I survived a dictatorship for a long time. And so there are so many things that is not new, but there are good things also happening. We talked a lot about what is good and what causes suffering, but also what we have been doing that it's good, and for ourselves and for the community. And yeah, that's pretty much what we we talked a lot.
So that's everybody out there in TV land, right? That was all the group. So this is a great practice for our sitting group in here, because our time always runs out before we get before we get to share. So we're going to, whoever the facilitator was, refine your notes so that next week we can start with, we had some really good conversations in here. And I think this takes another week, because we're going to go somewhere with this, and really where I'd like for us to start to go partially is why we have such difficulty with other people being happy. There's something in us that just like, if you're too happy, you're not thinking it through completely. If you're too happy about something, we always have a reason to criticize other people's happiness. I talked about woo-woos, and I'm always critical of woo-woos, but I consider them superficial woo-woo. I'm deep woo-woo. And so, it's that kind of way. Why can't a person be happy with their happiness? What is this fundamental thing we have about others that, in our connection, our relationship, that rather than trying to promote their contentment in the moment, they're rejoicing in whatever they do have or whatever. We have to always bring the get serious, the downside, the whatever. And it is the fundamental, fundamental curse and flaw in the ways that we hold others. And this is where the shift needs really needs to occur. And then it becomes like when I'm having a day that's not so good, there's 10 other people and I can think good about what they're having and what they're doing. And I can also promote good over them. That means that even when I have a bad day, one person, I got 10 that's having a good day that I also participate in. So I'm always ahead of the game, and so give more thought to this definition of dukkha in a real way for you, as opposed to how it has been defined for us. Because I think there's something in the breakthrough right there when I know that this is dukkha for me. So let's try to move away from the definition and really look inside, and see what is and experience what is dukkha through our own lens and not the lens of somebody who has defined it for us. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's it. We'll start next week with the same topic. We'll read the saying all week and reflecting all week, and we'll pick up here. This was great. Thank you all so much. May you be well and happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you, no danger. May you always be able to meet with the inevitable difficulties of life. And that's the last time I'm going to give that party. We have a new one coming for this year.
Thank you. Love you. Love
No
you
more
both.
always being able to endure the inevitable difficulties. That's the end of that. Like no more wow.